I mean, I think we've all talked and we've covered him. We've all covered him long enough to know that I think what he'd say is that Trump has literally savaged him, and his people come up to Michael Cohen on the street and threaten his life and threaten his family. But it is a moment, and I just wonder if you can go through legally, what do the prosecutors need from Michael Cohen on Monday?
So, one, as you said, they need him to stop talking. The judge has now said it. Outside of court. Save your voice for the testimony on Monday. Save it up. Yeah, they need, because now it's not just the prosecutors asking. The judge said today, communicate to Michael Cohen that I am asking. It's
coming from me.
It is coming from me. Please stop talking. Because we've seen, even in E. Jean Carroll, when Donald Trump was saying things about E. Jean Carroll, defaming her during the trial, the punitive damages went up. Like, jurors take notice of both witnesses and defendants, their behavior during the trial. It's worse. But what can we expect from him? He's going to walk us through the story. Most of the exhibits have now been admitted into evidence. And so now that we have today, we got the extraction from his phone. We have his emails, his text messages, his contacts. And so really, he's going to walk us through what were these exchanges. We know about a meeting at the White House. What happened in that meeting? He's going to tell us directly. This is the one person who can tell us, here's what I talked about with Donald Trump in the Oval Office about these hush money payments, in particular, the hush money payment to Stormy Daniels. He'll lead up to it with the Karen McDougal payment, but what's charged is the Stormy Daniels payment. We have evidence already from David Pecker about Karen McDougal, and we have that audio recording, which is fantastic, with Donald Trump and Michael Cohen talking about the Karen McDougal payment. But we still need the conversation with Donald Trump where he has knowledge about this hush money payment. That's what Michael Cohen is going to have to do, connect those dots, put it all together for us.
What would the prosecutors have learned this week from the cross of Stormy Daniels that they could apply to a final round of prepping Michael Cohen?
Well, they know it's going to be combative, right? I mean, looking at how Susan Necheles came after Stormy Daniels, figure it's going to be amped up times 10.
It's hard to even imagine what that looks like, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be very intense, very combative. And I think for Michael Cohen, don't get baited, because they're going to try and bait you. We saw this in the tax fraud trial, the criminal tax fraud trial, where their whole argument was, we are here because of Alan Weisselberg's greed. And they had to make somebody the bad guy, right? And here it's not going to be Donald Trump. Here it's going to be Michael Cohen is the bad guy. Michael Cohen did this because he's so obsessed. This was in the opening. He's so obsessed with Donald Trump, and he's such a sycophant, essentially, that he did this without Donald Trump even knowing. Donald Trump was too busy being president and running for president to get in the weeds. Again, ridiculous, doesn't make any sense, but that's their argument. So if you want to say that this was all Michael Cohen needs to focus on making sure to point where Donald Trump is involved and not make it about him. Make it about the evidence, make it about Donald Trump, make it about explaining this to the jury and not about your own anger, which I understand that he feels that and he has every right to feel that, but that's not what this is about.
And Trump telegraphed that upon leaving the courthouse today, telling the press down the hallway that Michael Cohen, he didn't do big deals for me. He did little deals. It was minimizing the importance and the role that Michael Cohen actually played in his life.
But then why did you pay him $400,000? I mean, you can't have it both ways. You say you were paying him for legal services over $420,000. But he only did little deals. So, I mean, show me another little lawyer that got almost $500,000 from Donald Trump.
At least he didn't say, I don't know who Michael Cohen is. Okay, I'm just putting that out there.
That is true.
Well, that could be coming. I mean, I think the revenge narrative, which will be there, he wanted to go to Washington and I didn't take him, it was sour grapes, will run against, even more so than with Stormy Daniels, all the documents. And I want to go through, I think we have most of the exhibits. I want to go through what the jury will have seen before Michael Cohen takes, I mean, don't believe me, believe your eyes and ears. And it feels to me like this is the first real legal clash between the moment that Trump told his supporters, don't believe what you see, don't believe what you hear, don't believe what you read, just believe me, and whether a jury can trust their eyes and the documentary evidence. I mean, today, I thought there was some real charisma in the data guy that was correcting I think it was Todd Blanche on the phone. Actually, got a digit wrong. I mean, these are unimpeachable sort of data nerds. They remind me of the unimpeachable campaign pollsters who told Donald Trump, yep, you lost. What about that county? Yep, you lost that too. Why did I lose that state? Well, you lost. I mean, data people know data.
Right, is the one the guy from AT&T said. I actually find this kind of enjoyable, and one of the attorneys for Donald Trump said, essentially, God bless you, because
Right.
that's.
He said it was tedious, and he goes, "Well, I kind of enjoy it."
I love it. You know? Yeah, I mean, and that's what it seems very strategic that Cohen comes after those kinds of witnesses.
Right. You want to make sure all of that evidence is in so that he's just now there to tell the story. Everybody else has been leading up to this, and he's so well corroborated by all of these other conversations that he's had. I mean, David Pecker was a perfect setup to really paint the picture. He's had the conversations directly with Donald Trump about hush money payments, about the catch and kill, and now it's Michael Cohen really to back cleanup and explain how this all worked with respect to Stormy Daniels. Again, you have documents, to your point, about the fact that Donald Trump is saying this was a reimbursement, right? You have him admitting that in a civil lawsuit, and you have an actual conflict of interest form signed by Donald Trump saying that you were reimbursing Michael Cohen. Well, what would those be for other than the $420,000? Is there another amount of money? No. So again, I think there is enough in the documents, but Michael Cohen just needs to just take his time and walk the jury through it.
Who is the other witness?
Well, now you've asked me a question I don't know the answer.
That's okay. But I mean, explain the drama around this. There is
I think I have a couple of theories on.
But there are two more witnesses we
Two
learned
more
today.
witnesses. We know Michael Cohen is one, and I want to say he's important too because I think he's going to walk us closer to the intent issue. The documents are really important, but we've got to get intent in order. And to get a guilty. I mean, the jury's got to feel that there was intent there. But the other witnesses, it could be an election expert, an election law expert could come forward. There could be another custodian. What is? I'm not sure. Yeah, but that's sort of I think
So
some
it's
of
a
the,
mystery
that was some of the
hanging over the weekend,
speculating.
right?
And we were talking about it at the end of court today, and that was sort of some of the speculation.
Do you think Trump's team knows who it is? Like, do we
Yes.
know? They know who it is.
I
So
have a
this is
feeling they do, but I don't know
about the
for sure.
window. Like Friday to Monday is about how much notice they've been getting.
Yeah, I think that seems to be. They might not. I would think that they do, but that was sort of some of the just
Tea leaves.
just the
Tea
chit
leaves.
chat when we
All
were
right.
talking about
We
it.
appreciate.